What's going on, guys? Ultimate Bounce here, and today we're gonna be talking about a movie that I never thought I would ever see, but I kept watching. I was going down the rabbit hole, like what is the most disturbing movies, and I was going down so many fucking icebergs and watching all these crazy ass videos, and for some reason, there's a lot of movies that I refuse to fucking watch just because they're so fucking violent. I'm like, I'm never gonna watch that, but I kept seeing stuff about this movie named Tusk, right? And I was like, what is this movie about? I know it's kind of like a body horror type shit, but like, let me really watch it. Turns out it's on Netflix. So I'm like, you know what? Like, let me check this shit out. And Kevin Smith, man, I fucking love that dude. He's awesome. He's great. This is one of those movies, guys, where like I was sitting there like thinking like, what the fuck am I watching? Tusk is one of those movies. There's so many good parts about it, but it's so confusing at the same time. I feel like you have this guy, right? He's a podcaster. With his friend. It's super just the show itself's like super just the kind of just like belittle like others and talk shit about other people, and there's definitely a lot of symbolism in this movie that I'm gonna get into later on. But I feel like just right off the bat, you kind of have like I said, this guy is doing this podcast and he gets the opportunity to interview this kid, right? This kid that got viral for like fucking cutting off his fucking leg or some shit by accident, right? He ends up flying over to Canada. Then he meets with this fucking kid. Then the kid ends up fucking killing himself apparently. So it's like, what the fuck? He ended up going on this flight for nothing. Then he goes to some fucking bar in the middle of Canada. Then he goes into the restroom. He sees this flyer on the wall for this fucking guy that has like this guy like, just like this fucking guy, right? This old guy, like his contact information is like all like, I guess I don't even know what the paper said. Something about like basically like the fucking lore of this guy or whatever, right? This guy's like, oh shit, like let me call this dude. Next thing you know, he's at this fucking old dude's mansion, right? Like when I'm watching these guys, I'm like, you know what, like this, I feel like the first like 40 minutes of the movie is super great, you definitely feel like it's definitely funny. A lot of the jokes are super great in this movie as well. I just feel like overall, like the vibe of this movie is like it's definitely has horror aspects to it, but it's not like super. It doesn't take itself seriously, and I feel like that's sort of the point of this movie. It's like a satire in a sense, but you know what I mean. Just basically this movie is like just ridiculous, and yeah, you see this guy like fucking talking to this old dude, right? And they're super like this guy's telling all the lore about his past and like how he used to be on Etsy and stuff. Then when this guy starts talking about walruses, bro, like just the way that he talks about it, you're just like, what the fuck is this guy on, bro? Like, if I want to say, Michael Parks, guys, is like the highlight of this movie for me, in my opinion. He is super great, and I know Justin Long as well is fucking incredible. I'll get to him later, but Michael Parks, he's so like psychotic in this movie. The way this guy just is, the way that he fucking talks, his dialogue, his presence on screen, honestly, he really elevates. And it's fucking Michael Parks we're talking about. He's a fucking great actor, but like he really like elevates his fucking. He adds a sense of like legitimacy or like seriousness to the movie. This movie's already ridiculous as it is, but just his character is so like maniacal and like psychotic, and I feel like that's what is one of my favorite parts of this movie. Right up, when you really see him like talk, when you meet him for the first time, he's just sitting there in that chair in his mansion and shit. Like, I think that's that weird aura to him, but just to kind of see how the story progresses later on, how he gets more and more crazy with it, it's very interesting, And from this point on, spoiler warning because I'm kind of going to dive into a little bit more. If for some reason you have not seen Tusk, I don't fully recommend you watch it. It's not something like I'm saying, oh, you definitely need to see this, but if you're somebody that just wants like, I don't know, like you're just somebody that wants to see a weird ass fucking movie, maybe check it out sometime. You want to like test yourself, like, can handle some crazy shit, then maybe this might be a movie for you. But, just back to what I was saying, you have Justin Long character, he's trapped in this fucking house. And, like, next thing this guy starts drinking this fucking tea, and you're like, wait, what the fuck is this guy? Like, I just knew off the bat, like, something was wrong with that fucking tea. Like, there's no way that this guy's, like not gonna do some shit to him. Like, I kind of had an idea of what this movie was about, but I didn't know how it was gonna play out, right? I was like, okay, like, this guy at some point is gonna get captured or something, and whenever he does is by drinking that tea that fucks him up. Like, it's just super, like, just like, kind of like funny. Like, he keeps trying to talk to him, he's like slowly passing out and shit. But when this guy fucking wakes up and his legs fucking cut off, I was like, oh shit. I thought that scene was really perfect because it's super eerie, It's like he just suddenly, imagine you're in this guy's situation, you're trying to go get a fucking you're trying to get a bit for your fucking podcast and shit, and next thing you know, you wake up and your fucking legs cut off. What I find so ironic is that this guy was making fun of the kid earlier for cutting his leg off, and now he cuts his fucking leg off. He even said it early on that like, who the fuck even needs legs? He says some shit like that, right? It's like, damn, like there's so much like symbolism in this fucking movie that like it's insane, just a lot of the words that he says, it ends up biting him back in the ass later on, you know. And Justice Long character in this movie, he's very just kind of like an asshole, you know. He's not really likable. He's kind of just like a douche to everybody, and you can tell that he's the success from his show is getting in over his head, you know. He kind of treats people differently. He's not the same as he's once when he started the show. Like that scene where he's with his girlfriend, that little flashback scene. See the way that his girl kind of talks to him, like she's kind of upset by the way that he is now, you know. But you can see he's so caught up in the success and all this shit that it kind of fucks with his judgment, you know. And you know, once you start seeing fucking Michael Parks' character start slowly turning this guy into a fucking walrus, dude, like I thought like a lot of the shots in this movie were fucking great. And I thought just the whole building up to it, you just feel like this eeriness of like something bad was gonna happen. Like you just knew, like, yeah, I mean, this movie, like I said, it doesn't take itself seriously, so it doesn't feel super intense. But just there's the scene where you kind of see him like just laid out on the table like that, and you kind of just get these shots of like his skin on the fucking like walls like hung up and shit. Like you just see Michael Parks' character like giving a fucking monologue, super fucking disturbing. I think another disturbing scene is like when he's still in the wheelchair, he's like trying to eat dinner with him. He starts freaking out and shit. Or even the scene where like he secretly tries to call his girlfriend and shit, but then like Michael fucking Parks' character just hiding in the shadows, dude, like Batman, bro. It's like, what the fuck, dude? And I feel like his character, this movie is so ridiculous, but like it's funny at the same time, you know. Like it's like a horror comedy type of style, but I feel like I understand now, you know, when people say this movie is one of the most disturbing movies ever, it's because of, you know, the second, third act, you know. When you see Justin Long's character become the Walrus, you know, first of all, I want to say straight off the bat, I will never see Walrus as the same ever again. You know, Kevin Smith ruined this animal for me. Not that I was ever a big fan of walruses to begin with, but you guys know what I mean. You know, I would never see a walrus the same, bro, because I thought the build up to the reveal was so great. Like, and I kind of had like seen a screenshot of how he looked like before. I kind of idea how he looked like already. But you know, when you finally see him, just the whole dungeon area is super fucking eerie. Like the fact that there's like these weird projectors like just playing fucking old like footage of like seals and shit like flying, bro, and then like just the fact that the whole basement's like a fucking aquarium and shit. It's super fucking just disturbing, bro. And just I love that shot where it zooms out and you just see him screaming and you realize like he's in a fucking like little playpen like zoo type of shit, bro, and you see him. It is super, I thought that was super effective. As far as like body horror goes, you know, like I said, this movie it's super over the top, but I feel like just seeing him as a walrus, it is so disturbing because you saw this guy earlier on, not even that long ago, as a normal human being, and you saw this crazy ass fucking guy slowly turn him into a fucking like animal, bro. You saw this guy so fascinated by walruses that it consumes him, bro. He ends up turning somebody else into a fucking walrus. It's like, what the fuck, dude? He looks fucking creepy, dude. Like it's very unsettling when you first see him, you know. And the fact that like, you know, that he just can't even talk, he's just like screaming in pain. It's like, what the fuck, bro? Like, dude, this guy, man, is fucking Michael Parks, bro. You're a goddamn psychopath, dude. But I feel like once the friends kind of like figure out that he's missing and shit, they kind of try to go looking for him. Then you have Johnny Depp, which I was not expecting to come out. Like, unfortunately, this got spoiled for me, but I was searching up too much about it. I ended up seeing, oh, there's a surprise cameo. Then like I fucking looked it up. It was like Johnny Depp. I was like, what the fuck? But Johnny Depp is also just super when he talks, bro, like it's hard to understand what this guy is saying. Like I literally had to like lock in because I didn't even understand what the fuck he was saying. It's so ridiculous. It's super like French accent, like over the top, and definitely like in the third act, you have these moments where you do these flashback scenes with Johnny Depp, and you end up finding out that like he ended up meeting like Michael Parks' character like way earlier on before, and the dude was fucking way different back then. Like fucking Howard had like a completely different fucking accent. He looked fucking different. It was just kind of like a funny scene, I guess, but like that's the problem with this movie is that it's just super like all over the place. There's so many moments that just do not make fucking sense. But yet there's so many moments like the Walrus reveal where it's super just great. Like there's a lot of great things to take away from this movie. And this is a movie that Kevin Smith said himself that like people might have not understood at the time, but now people sort of appreciate it. It's sort of a movie that like people were probably gonna get for like when it first came out. So now like 5-10 years after it's come out, I think people started to realize, you know, like there's definitely great aspects of it. I think just the body horror aspect in general is great. Just the idea of like just turning a human into like not making him human anymore, it's already disturbing as it is, but just the fact that he just turned him into another animal, you know, the fact that Howard's character is like super like obsessed with like walruses just makes it super just disturbing. And once you kind of get to the third act where you kind of find out where he is and you kind of like try to save him, you know, thought it was pretty cool, you know. This is fun, this is stupid, you know, this movie's fucking stupid. There's so many funny moments in it as well, but just the whole aspect of it's so ridiculous sometimes, you know. But You know, Wallace's character, you know, I feel like this movie is super great. Justin Long in this movie is super just funny, and he definitely has like that. He was definitely perfect for this fucking role. You know, he really just, in fact, it's over the top. In fact, he still gives such a great performance. You know, it's great. And when you see Teddy and Allie, you know, try to go save him at the end, you see him like fucking Wallace is fighting with fucking Howard and shit. I thought that was like it was like a cool moment in the movie. You know, definitely like a lot of shots in it that I really liked in them last act. But once you see fucking Wallace kill Howard and shit, you know, it's pretty satisfying. I guess this kind of see kind of got his get back. And then one thing I was wondering though the most at the end was like, are they gonna fucking like Giant? They're gonna fucking shoot him? And I really thought like they were just gonna kill him. Like, you know, at this point, just put the guy out of his fucking misery. I mean, he's a fucking walrus, bro. Like, why would he even still want to live, right? But just to find out at the end that his fucking friends visit this guy at an abandoned zoo and they left him to live, and he's staying there by himself in an abandoned ass fucking zoo. Just, there's so much symbolism behind that. I feel like it symbolizes like sort of like how Wallace was in the beginning. You know, he was super just cocky and arrogant and talking all this shit and just belittling people and now he kind of like, it's sort of like, this is not like this sort of karma for like all the shit that he's done. You know, it's like now he's the one that's like fucking being mocked at and being looked at. You know, it's this. I mean, I'm not, like I said before, you know, I'm not the type to super break everything down, but what I know is that there's so much symbolism behind like him becoming the walrus, kind of how it's like a representation of like the shit that he's done in his past, and kind of like how it's basically like the way that he sort of treats people. It's kind of how he's being treated now as in the walrus form. You know, so again, you know, Tusk, man, Kevin Smith, he cooked with this one a little bit. It was not the best. It's not definitely like a horror masterpiece, and not redefine the genre by any means. But I think I'm gonna give Kevin Smith credit because there's not a movie like this, and there hasn't been a movie pretty much like this since, I think. So I'll give him fucking credit, man. You know, Tusk, I'm gonna give fucking Tusk, bro, like a 65%. You know, does it pass for me? You know, but I feel like overall, you know, I appreciate for the way it's still great aspects, because it just as a film in general, this is one of those movies where like it's trying to be comedy, it's trying to be horror, it's trying to be a bunch of things, and I feel like it gets messy because of that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's like horrible in any means. There's still great aspects to take away from it. I feel like, you know what, Tusk, man, you know, definitely a disturbing movie for the most part, and definitely I don't like Walruses anymore because of it. But you know, other than that, y'all, thank you guys for enjoying. Thank you guys for watching the video. You know, like and subscribe for new videos every week, and yeah, peace.